Hey, welcome everybody. You're listening to Relapse. My name's Mike Hurley. I'm in studio today with two of my co-hosts, Miguel Colon Jr. and Ken Miller, the godfather of Orlando comedy. We are not joined by James John this evening. He's celebrating his 150th anniversary or something like that over at Secrets on 192 in Kissimmee, Florida. Happy anniversary, James and Michelle. You are missed. So, hey, we got a lot of stuff to catch up on this week, guys. So we're going to get into it in a second. But first and foremost, Miguel, how was your weekend, man? You do anything interesting?
No, it was great. The only thing I did really cool was I'm not gonna be able to see my dad for his birthday in a couple weeks. So I wanted to do something nice for him. So I ordered some steaks for him. I ordered steaks from Peter Luger's. I don't know if you guys know Peter Luger's in Brooklyn. It's one of the best steakhouses in America, man. Check it out. 138 years they've been open.
Hmm.
No reservations, only take cash. Loaded up with
Dang.
mobsters, doctors, senators. And I reached out to a friend of mine who's a buyer in New York who buys produce. And I was like, get me someone on Peter Luger's and let me beg for this because my father, he used to be a recruiter for the Marines in 1978 in Brooklyn and Williamsburg, right across the street from Peter Luger's. And the recruiters, a famous story about the recruiters and Peter Luger's was the mob would go to the recruiter's office on Friday, like wise guys, to chop it up and talk business, and send the Marine recruiters over to Peter Luger's to get steaks. And they would sit there and chop it up because they knew nobody would bug a recruiting office, and there were always Marines hanging out over there. So that was like a famous Peter Luger's story for anybody who ever worked at that recruiting office in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, underneath the bridge on Broadway, was how they were across the street from Peter Luger's, and the mob would use it. So, cut to now, my dad's been out of the Marine Corps for almost 20 years. He served 26 years in. Marine Corps
Hmm.
birthday's coming up. I wanted to do something special. So I reached out to my friend, and she was able to get me steaks from Peter Luger's Steakhouse. I cooked them up for my old man and definitely earned myself back in the will. Because 2016, when I went to do comedy, I did have to borrow money from my old man when I was going straight to comedy and not working anymore. And I had to do something to remind him that a thank you for that, you know?
Right. It's funny. First of all, what's something like that cost? Like, what's that
Oh,
go for to get like
to
that kind
get
of
them on
prime
to
cut?
get them online because they do ship online. It
Hmm.
was gonna be like $500 for 5
Woo!
ribeyes shipping because it's
Wow.
dry aged overnight shipping, and they don't want to do it, you know. So
Hmm.
I couldn't. So
Right.
my friend definitely hooked me up, and and also like I know nobody from Peter Lucas is listening, but I cash apped the dude directly, so I know that this was just taken from the cooler. Because he was like, man, he's like, and he sent me this Peter Luger's extra thick bacon. He's like, order the bacon because the bacon's
Mhm,
it's like $50 for like 4 packs of bacon from him too.
mhm,
But the bacon, guys, is like almost a half-inch thick, and
mhm,
it's good. So he's like, order the bacon, then
mm,
cash at me for the steaks, and I'll throw the
mm.
steaks in the box. So it was gonna be like 80. I think it was like $80 a dry age ribeye.
Mhm.
They're 38-ounce ribeyes too, though, so they're huge. But it came out to like 150 bucks and shipping. But I told
Yeah.
you guys, like I said, you should not be ordering steaks from Peter Luger and Cash App Daryl at Daryl.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it
Daryl
worked out.
walking out the back door with steak and
Yeah,
bacon.
Yeah.
yeah.
And you better hope it was Peter Luger and not a Kroger up
Bro,
there.
I thought, hey, I told her, I said, send me a video of
Mm,
you putting them in the box. Because I
yeah.
thought the same thing. I was like, I'm gonna get these steaks and be like, damn, Peter Lucas steak's pretty thin. And why they
Yeah.
say Freshfield Farms on them?
How come this has a Winn-Dixie stamp? What's going on here?
Yeah.
You know what? And
Oh
how come
man.
the expiration date was 2019? Never mind.
Yeah.
Is
The
this
steak,
Food Lion?
why
What?
does
Yeah.
steak got chicken skin on it?
You know,
You
I
know?
I I love hearing about the mafioso meeting up in different places because I mean nowadays people might say the Italian Mafia. Well, honestly, the Italian Mafia isn't what it used to be.
Yeah.
But in the 80s and 90s, it was huge. I
Yeah.
mean, you didn't have crime in Little Italy because the mafia did not allow things like pickpockets and,
Yeah.
like they're like anything that brings attention to our neighborhood, we don't want
Yeah.
it. They took care of their neighborhood. And you watch all these mafia movies and everything else. And growing up Italian Irish, I heard stories from my uncle who ran around with guys in John Gotti's crew and stuff like that. But you never really believe it. You're always like, the movies, everything else.
Yeah.
I think it was 2008 it was 2000. I went up to New York City with my buddy Eric Rivera, and we're like, dude, let's hit up Lil Italy. We'll stop by Chinatown, get scammed on some stuff first, then we'll go. Because Ken, you want knockoffs? It's like the best flea market in the world. Everything says like Gucci and stuff like that, you know. But it looks good.
Gucci man, not Gucci, the Gucci man.
If you got a girlfriend, but if you got a girlfriend, but you know you ain't gonna be with her that long, that's where you go shopping for stuff, you know. So we went over to Lil Italy, and there was this little Italian restaurant, and they said lunch specials, and we're like, hey, this looks like a classy joint. Let's grab some lunch here. We walk in, and it's a beautiful restaurant. I wish I could remember the name. Right in the heart of Lil Italy. The dining room is huge, nicely decorated, but over decorated. Kind of like what was that place you used to work at the Florida Mall there?
Buca de Beppo.
Yeah, like that, you know, a whole bunch of saints staring at you and judging you while you eat spaghetti, you know. But the whole place is beautiful, and they're walking us to the back, and there's seating for like 200 people. There's only one table, and it's taken up by 8 old guys who, as far as I can tell, all they had was coffee on the table. Yeah. Nobody else in the dining room. And they're walking us to the back. And I'm like, wow, this place is dead. We're going to get served quick. They walk us out the back door. And you know, in New York, when you go out the back door, it's an alley.
Yeah, Lady in the Tramp style.
Yeah. It was the alley where they put up little white picket fencing, and there must have been 80 people shoulder to shoulder at these little picnic table type things. And I'm like, can we sit in there? You know, can we sit in? They're like, no, they're having a meeting. I'm like, oh, well, you closed down. You closed down 200 seats of prime dining for 6 old guys that want to have coffee. They're like, they're pretty important old guys. I'm like, we'll be here. We'll be quiet and we'll tip well.
I'll be fine. You know,
sorry to bother you.
Peter Luger's once got just last year, they got like a 0-star review from New York Times because, and I'm just saying, because it was like Peter Luger's been around for 138 years. It's steak, potatoes. That's it. You know what I'm saying? And they were like, the menu's just not fancy anymore, blah, 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 blah. So to answer back, Peter Luger's took a picture of a line of people outside and the restaurant packed, all reading the New York Times review. They went out and bought a newspaper, and they were like, I hope this doesn't hurt business.
Well, how about you, Ken? How'd your weekend go, man? Politics aside.
Oh, man. Well, Chill Friday. Saturday, we did the old folks, which was fun. I mean, I left about 20 minutes into your set. So
yeah, I wish I could have left 20 minutes into my set.
You was doing good. What are you talking about?
No, because we did. Miguel, have you done the room out in Auburndale called the Hamptons Golf and Country Club?
No, I was supposed to. This room's been around for a while now, like 2 years now at least.
I'm not sure how long it's been around. James actually set us up with this.
Yeah.
Well, James was supposed to. I was supposed to do it, I think, in April, and then everything changed in the world. But he told me it's. You know, James always said, guys, if you listen, this is a James Young sound. It's a good room. It's really nice. And then he hits you with the third thing. Everybody there is 900 years old.
And they were.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, like James, he is good again with these communities and these country clubs, and you know they have their clubhouse and put on gigs. So I asked him, I'm like, well, how old are we talking here? Because I'll do my act for older crowds, I don't mind, but I just need to know in advance how old. So he's like, oh man, it's like that crowd over at Barefoot Bay. Now, if you've been to Barefoot Bay gig, Barefoot Bay gig is older. But they're more like that Rowdy Villages younger swingers crowd. Like they enjoy your crowd. Yeah. They enjoy your comedy, but then afterwards they're like, so did you bring a swimsuit? You want to come hang out in the jacuzzi for a little bit, you know? So when he told me it was like Barefoot Bay, I'm like, oh man, I got my act in mind. He's like, but you know, keep it clean. They like it a bit cleaner. I'm like, yeah, no problem. So then I get out there, and as soon as I see the audience that's wheelchairing in, I'm like, this isn't Barefoot. This is Barefoot Bay's parents. That's who's out here, man. And so then Ken texts me. He's like, hey man, I'm running late. The show starts at 7. All right. And exactly. He's like, hey man, I'm running late. I'm going to get there right at 6:55. I'm like, all right, we're supposed to each do 45 minutes, which I'll tell you right now, I hate shows where you got 2 headliners doing each 45 minutes. I usually tell if I'm co-headlining with someone, I usually go, man, you want to go first or second? If you go first, do me a favor. Well, money's the same. Money don't change, but please keep it to like 30 minutes up front. I'll do an hour. Just I don't want to follow an exhausted audience, you know?
Yeah.
And Ken showed up like right on time. And I was sticking around to sell merch. So I asked Ken, I'm like, hey, man, if you want to take off, do you want to go first if you're not selling merch? That way you can be home in bed by the time I'm done with the show. And 5 minutes into his set, I was like, well, this was a mistake. Because Ken was just up there. They didn't know how to take him for like the first 5 minutes. He opened with a story. I'll tell you why. Because apparently a lot of people in this resort lost the battle with COVID recently.
So this dude, he does a moment of silence before I come on stage.
Oh no!
A literal moment of silence in a room of what you think we had? 55 to 70?
About 55 to 70 people.
Yeah. So literal moment of silence. And then usually if someone does something like that, they'll go through announcements or something like that afterwards. Not this guy. Moment of silence. Everybody's quiet. Lifts his head up. He's like, so we need laughs more now than ever. This next guy, and he gives Ken Miller's intros from back when Ken was like 37 years old. Like he's this guy, he's 37 years old. I don't know where he found it. It must have been Bonker's original bio site.
Yeah, like the original bio from Bonkers. It's seriously the original bio from Bonkers, like no lie.
So Ken goes up and opens. He tells me before he goes up, he's like, man, I'm going to lead off with my mom just died stuff. And I'm like, a little bit dark, but okay. And he goes up. So for like the first 5 minutes, it was like polite laughter, but they didn't know how to feel about it. I'm not sure if they didn't know how to feel about it because he was laughing about death and they just talked about losing friends, or they weren't expecting a black guy on their property tonight. You know,
all of it. They're like, oh no.
But then after about 6 minutes in, man, he got his first big applause break, and then they just kept applause breaking. And when you see a bunch of 80-year-olds giving applause breaks and you know what act you have to offer, you're like, I'm just sitting there going, man, I should have packed the magic. Should have packed the magic.
That's what Mike said. Mike said, man, I should have did the magic, bro.
I should have packed it. I didn't bring any of the magic.
You're at Amazon seeing if you can get a 1 hour delivery of magic gear.
Yeah, right. No, they're like, no, but we got some pretty good steaks. You want some steaks?
Like, give me the steaks.
So yeah, man, Ken went up and Ken ended up crushing it. They loved him. There's nothing more I like than when Ken starts messing with old white ladies. Like he straight up told this old white guy, like, man, when you die, I'm gonna get with your woman. That type of thing.
You look like Betty White, bro.
Yeah.
How did merch go? How did merch sales go?
Good, man. I did about 140 in merch after.
Yeah. I ended up going to the Improv after to hang out.
You did.
Yeah, Brody was there. You know, Brody was their host, and Brody's the security /host/ comic for Michael Blackson.
Right.
So I really want to tell the story, man. How much time we got on this?
We got about 1 minute left. You got 1 minute?
Nah, this story gonna take a minute.
All right.
I need to tell the story, bro. But it's about like crazy comedy fans.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you this.
This guy last night was off the chain, bro. Like to the point where me and Dwayne thought he was going to kill us. We thought we were going to get killed.
Can you tell it after the break so everybody can hear it? Yeah, because I'll tell you this, Brody, you know, when Brody first introduced himself to me, that's when he was still police. And if you look at
5-0.
If you look at Brody, you know you got a chance on foot. You know?
Yo, he said that. He says, man, I'm a detective now. I ain't chasing nobody. he said, yeah, man, but brother, it was one of them nights, man, and me and Dwayne and the guy followed us to the car, bro.
Oh, man.
And I was just thinking, this is it. I'm gonna get killed at the Improv, and I wasn't even on the show.
Well, you man, don't get too far into it. We're gonna take a break right now. When we come back, we're gonna hear about and wasn't it Dwayne's birthday yesterday or something like that?
Yeah, it was Dwayne's birthday Friday. So we were hanging out 2 nights in a row.
So we're gonna hear about Ken Miller and Dwayne Williams' near-death experience at the Orlando Improv right here when we come back on Real Laughs 104.1. Welcome back. This is Mike Hurley. You're still listening to Real Laughs on 104.1. I'm in studio with Miguel Colon Jr. and Ken Miller. When we left, Ken was just about to tell us about a near-death experience he had at the Orlando Improv this past weekend. Ken, what happened, man? What's going on?
Oh, my goodness. So, you know how when you get celebrity comics, or just celebrities in general, you know, you're going to have, as you want to call them, groupies for women, stalkers for guys, or both.
Yeah.
So I'm outside the Improv for the late show. I'm smoking a cigar. I'm not performing now. Understand? I'm not performing. I'm out there. There's 2 pretty girls out there. We're talking T-Mobile stuff. I'm telling them how I can help them with T-Mobile. But it's a guy that's in the seat that I normally sit in to smoke. So I'm smoking around him. So I'm trying to be polite. You know, can I smoke? Whatever. And one of the waitresses walked past. He says, "Hey, are you Krista?" And so at that moment, my ears perk up because I need to know who the guy is because he's asking questions. So I go over and say, I'm Ken, are you on the show? I said, nah, but this is my home club. I help book here. Can I help you? He says, yeah, I'm supposed to be going in to see Michael Blackson, who's the headliner this weekend. I said, okay, cool. Can you show me, that he put you on the list? He says, well, I've been messaging him. I said, well, I need to see, you have to show me proof because if you show me proof, I can just walk you in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's like, nah, man. I told him I was gonna be here. He said, what door did they come out of? And I'm just like, man,
this
give me
is sketchy.
I said, give me a sec, man. So I go get Brody. I said, hey, Brody, some dude out here saying that Mike supposed to let him in and blah. But he don't got no proof. He ain't got no, he's just been hitting Mike up on
Instagram and
blasting up on Instagram. So Brody said, man, let me go out here. Brody licensed firearm carrier. He is security. Go out there. When we get there, the dude gone. And I'm like, man, he was just here. I look over. He over there at Adobe Gillis. So he was leaving. Then he comes back.
And there's nothing at Adobe Gillis
There's
right
nothing
now.
there. It's just a boarded up room. So he comes back. He's like, yo, I'm supposed to meet Mike, this and that. And Brody's like, well, show me. If you show me, I'll get you in. Man, we've been talking on IG. He said, has he replied? The dude was like, nah, he never replies, but I've been hitting him up.
That's not talking, man.
So Brody's like, look, man, you can't get in. So the dude leaves. Brody leaves. Me and Dwayne smoking. I'm drinking. The dude comes over and starts talking to us, telling us all these stories. Yeah, man, I done hung out with Diddy. I done did this. I done did that, blah, blah, blah. This one I knew he was full of it. He was like, yeah, man, I played ball. He was from Jamaica. I played ball, man. I could beat LeBron one-on-one. I said, bruh, if you don't get away from this table, you telling me you could beat, dude. He was like 6 feet tall, like 230. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you telling me you could beat the second greatest basketball? I said, man, gone somewhere. And me, if he cool, I bought him a drink or something. He was just mad annoying. The show ends. Me and Dwayne go inside, and we get to take a picture with Michael Blackson. The dude goes to take a picture of Brody. Brody just pushes him out the way. And the dude like, yo, Mike, what's up? And then they just rush Mike in the back, and then we go in the back, and the dude tried to go in the green room, and they like, yo, you can't come back here. So we back there, Michael Blackson, we talking, he telling who I am, we laughing, blah, blah, blah. They leave, and they sneak him out. Me and Dwayne go out the front. Guess who out there waiting?
Oh, LeBron beater?
The LeBron beater. I'm like, man. So me and Dwayne try to walk off. He says, man, that was wrong. That MF did me wrong, man. Man, you're not supposed to treat people like this, man. And we're like, hey, man, I'm sorry, man. We don't know him. What you mean y'all don't know him? That's Michael Blackson. Y'all know him. And I'm trying to explain to him, I know him, but I don't know him.
Yeah, he's not my people.
Bruh, when I tell you he was up on me and Dwayne, you ain't supposed to treat people like that. I went out and bought this outfit. I got dressed up. He could at least take a picture with me, man. This ain't right. And bro, he was just going, me and Dwayne was just slowly backing up.
I feel like Eminem based the whole song about this guy.
Bruh, I'm telling you. And I'm telling them, and I'm like, bruh, hey man, it ain't nothing I could do. I said, I don't know Michael Black. I said, I know him I don't know the guy, bro. I said, I tried to get you in. I said, before you come up here, you should have something on your phone that says, I got you tickets. I said, if not, bro, what? I can't do nothing for you. Yeah. Man, this wrong. Man, before he said the next wrong, me and Dwayne was in our car. And me and Dwayne almost hit each other. We was coming out that parking lot so fast. So I hit Brody up. I says, hey, man, just know, be careful tonight because this dude was on one. But he was mad at me and Dwayne because he couldn't see Michael Blackson. And I'm like, bro, what do you want me to do?
That's what, man?
I'm like, what do you want me to do, man?
I'm like, you got to be like, hold on right now. I'm gonna go get him, and then just never come back.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. I know next time, but man, me and Dwayne we called each other. We were like, yo, dude I really thought we were like in danger, like he was heated, and I'm like, it's Michael Blackson. I could see if it was Will Smith.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or like Obama. You know what I'm saying? Or Jay or Beyonce. Like it was a woman. It was a dude. Dude getting hype over another dude, bro.
Dude,
like that's crazy to me.
He's like, I bought this outfit.
You
went ahead, man, comb my hair.
We've all worked with like bigger name guys, which is part of the fun of this job. You know, you get into it, you get to a level, and you're starting to work with guys that you used to look up to, and you're getting to share the stage with them. But yeah, after the show, especially for the ones that don't come out and meet their fans anymore, whether it was they just don't do that or before COVID, so many times after shows, man, I'll be out pitching merch or something like that. Someone come up and spend 5 minutes telling me how fabulous I was, and then sit there and go, "So, you think I can get back there to meet Rob Schneider?" Or, you know, like with Josh Wolf, this dude in wheelchair came up to me like, "Hey, man, can you do me a favor?" Josh and I seem to be bonding during the show because Josh talked to the guy like
In
while
the
he
show,
was in the show, and he's like, can you go ask him if he wants any party favors or anything like that?" Do you guys have that like a lot after shows where people want you to be the in between for the celebrity
all
and
the
them?
time. Anytime I work with somebody and they don't take pictures, hey man, is so and so coming out? And I'm like, bruh, he not coming out, you know. Or now if it's a dude and there's women, that's different because they'll be like, come get me, you know what I'm saying? But if it's like guys and stuff, most male comics be like, nah, man, I ain't taking no pictures today. And this is before COVID, you know what I mean? This is before COVID. But yeah, for the most part, we're always a go between because we're out there with merch. Look, dude, I'm trying to sell merch. I ain't about to be running back and forth. Go ask the host to do it.
The worst is when people know you from that club. They've seen you like 3 times, and they're like a regular of yours when a celebrity's not there, and then you have to be the dream crusher. Like they're like, oh, you know, Ken, Mike, Miguel, I saw you last time. I saw you when you hosted. I listened to you on the radio. Cool. And then you got to come back and be like, yeah, so Christopher Titus isn't seeing anybody. I actually, like 2 years ago when Titus was here, I think it was 2 years ago. It was when he was at South Florida. When was the Improv over in West Palm? It's gone now, right? Or is it still there?
West Palm's still there. Miami switched from Coconut Grove.
So this is like 3 years ago.
You talking about Fort Lauderdale? Fort Lauderdale's the one that's closed.
Okay, so like 3 years ago, West Palm, I got to go over there, and they were like, "Hey, if you want to do a guest spot," they're like, "You do a guest spot on Christopher Titus this time," because he came into the Monsters, and he was like, "Oh, I'm not doing anything here," because in Orlando one he had it all locked. He was like, "If you want to come down to the West Palm one, though," he was like, "Come on down." So I was like, I'll drive there for that. Go see some girls I know and family out there. Be on a really, you know, it's nice to invite people in those areas to a bigger show too. You're like, hey, I don't come here much, so I'm doing the show. And so I invited people, and I was having a good time. And this guy comes up to me. He's like, hey, Christopher Titus said that I could come see him after the show and take pictures. And I'm like, sorry, bro. You know, ain't nobody. And I'm telling this guy, no. And I'm like, you got to go, man. And I'm telling the wait staff, hey, this guy, man, Christopher Titus did tell him. And I'm telling this guy, no. And it cleared up. But he like walked past me and like shoulder checked me and looked at me like, and I didn't know because I was just like, hey, buddy,
that's not it, but it's not your thing. That should have been if Titus had his manager. That should have been that dude.
And I wasn't
the
even
manager of the
club.
Titus.
It wasn't even like I was kicking in the green room though. I came to do the guest spot. I came to the green room, shook hands, took some pictures. He was real nice and mentioned me up in the middle of his set, like because we had met on the Monsters, but I wasn't hanging in the green room with him. I wasn't like a part of his crew that whole night. You guys know he has like his girl does all his merch and she does the opening for him.
And she's the opener now. Yeah.
So
for real, I thought he was by himself. I didn't know he had somebody with him.
He a couple of probably about 6 years ago, he had his tour manager who was female. He started dating her. I'm not sure. And then they got married. I believe they were engaged when I met him and talked with him. But he started teaching her to do stand-up. And she opened for him. And Ken, when I tell you she had one story that was a 25-minute story.
That's it.
She had one 25-minute story.
And you're talking about one of the best storytellers in comedy you're going to go after. Because, you know, he tells like an hour and a half worth of incredible story.
Yeah.
She has one long story where it's like all these like set up punchlines every like, it's like she went to a comedy class and they were like, oh, time for another punch. Time for another punch, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah. So I denied a guy his dream, and then turned out that everybody told me.
But that ain't your fault,
that's
man.
Not my fault,
that's not your fault, dude. That's the club, man. Oh, he should have went to a manager, or I would have been like, look, man, you got to go ask the manager.
That's all I kept saying. I was like, you got to go talk to the management. But to them, they're like, What do you mean? You know this dude. I don't
You
know this
you know
dude,
this
man.
dude, man. You
I don't
know,
even. I drove over there without his phone number, so there was a huge chance I was gonna get there, and
get
they were
there,
gonna
and
be
he was
like,
like, "Hey,
"Who this
man, ain't
guy?"
no
Yeah,
good."
yeah.
Yo, Varnell Hill, bro, get there. He be like, I told you can have a guest spot. What? When? You
I
were on
scared.
the Monsters last week,
Yeah.
man. Never even heard of Monsters. What are you talking
Oh,
about?
bro, I
Yeah.
scared Carlos Mencia. He talked the whole time. Me and him were riding the elevator down. He was like, "I want you to come through. I want you to come watch the first show, and then I want you to do the second show. And if it's cool, man, you come back." And I was like, "Hey, man, thank you, Carlos." I walked in the green room, knocked on the door, opened up. I said, "Hey, Carlos, I'm Miguel." And he just stared at me. I was like, "From the Monsters this morning, the comic." Stared at me, and I was like, "You told me to come do a guest set?" And he was just staring at me. And Cisco was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember you. This is cool." But Carlos's whole face was all like, "Cisco, tell them to leave." You know, like I was, man. I felt bad because I told a girl to come to the show, and I had my homeboy
Mm.
Luis with me, who's a huge Mencia fan, and I was like, "We're gonna go back." And I'm telling Luis, "Don't get all weird, bro. Just say hi and walk." And
Yeah.
he's looking at me like, "Y'all, I don't."
And
I didn't
how
order
long
anything.
ago was that?
It was 2 years ago when
Yeah,
when
because
he came here. Yeah,
when he recently came, he was too cool.
yeah,
Like
Yeah.
it was way too. He was way too cool and down to earth from what stories I've heard of him.
yeah.
Yeah,
He was
dude.
way too cool
This
and down to earth, bro.
this last time he came through, I ended up going to because James was hosting.
The
Yeah.
Waffle House
So
night. Yeah.
yeah, so I ended up going through, and Kevin White swung through too. And afterwards, we were just sticking around. They cleared out the whole room, but we sat there and talked to him for a little bit. And then he had Craig put up lyrics on the screen, and he turned it into like improv karaoke.
He loves
So he was
karaoke.
just, oh man, he's crazy for it. So we were
Yeah.
just doing the karaoke until like 3:30 in the morning. Just, he's like, no photos, no videos. And I'm like, I don't think you want anything to end up on TMZ, but he's also not that great a singer. So maybe
Nah, he's
that's
not. Nah.
that's what it was.
You know what he did that was really cool for me? His merch that he was selling back then was he would record his set and then sell you like the USB drive of that particular set that night,
Mm.
which was cool because all the crowd were you would basically buy the show you saw.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, that's kind of dope. Even though that
yeah.
show like 18 hours long.
18 hours long and it's personalized. And but after I did because I was there, I did 2 nights with him just as guest spots because he'd come to Monster. But the second night he was like, I had them record your set, so I'm gonna give it to you on USB. And so he just gave me a USB with my set on it. But for a headliner to even care like that was just really nice. You know,
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah,
He was really cool, man. Like I said, I've heard like I posted the picture with him, and then somebody was like, "Yeah, he's cool for someone who sexually harasses women." I'm like, "Well,
I don't know.
I don't know everybody in LA's story.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know every and the person who said it is a good friend of ours
It's
from
hard.
Orlando. And so I'm like, baby sis, I don't know
Yeah.
everybody's story, so I don't know that he's harassing women. Like I don't like I'm Orlando. I don't follow every comedian who has
Somebody's
an.
gonna
I
somebody's
just that ain't the thing.
somebody's gonna be like, Michael Blackson's cool if you want to get elbowed in the face by security.
uh, yeah, I still talk with Dustin Diamond a lot, and
That's cool.
I'll still do shows with him when he comes back through. And they're like, "I can't believe you talked to him. He stabbed somebody." I'm like, "Dude, I have non-famous friends who stab
Yeah.
people. I get drinks with them all the time too."
Yeah.
It's
I'm a hip hop fan. Stabbing
Yeah.
somebody just
Yo,
means
stabbing somebody
that's
mean, bro. That means
that's
your
something
album
happened.
about to come out.
Yeah, you go triple platinum.
Well, guys, we put it off long enough. We got to take a break real quick. But when we come back, everything elections, guys, right here on Real Laughs 104.1. Welcome back. You're listening to Real Laughs. I'm Mike Curley, joined in virtual studio with Miguel Colon Jr. and the godfather of Orlando comedy, Mr. Ken Miller. Now, guys, just the way we do this show, for those listening that don't know, we usually pre-record Sunday nights and we pre-record Monday nights. What that means is a lot of stuff happens since we've been in the same virtual area together, and we didn't get a chance to discuss it while it was happening. So I haven't really spoke to you guys too much about it, but this was me last Tuesday night. Man, I was at my laptop every 2 minutes after 8 o'clock. Refresh. I'm not going to lie, man. I was probably at 11:30 on Tuesday night thinking, how can I move my kids to Canada? Like, that's where I was at. I had given up. I was in defeat. And I realized this is why I'm not into sports, man. This is why I don't pick teams. I always pick losers. All right. Everybody I go for loses. And I went to bed feeling disheartened. I went to bed feeling frustrated for the whole country. And then I woke up the next day and I said, what? Do we have a shot here? This has been the biggest roller coaster election from what I can recall. And here's the big issue I'm having. It seems like there's a bunch of people out there that don't understand how math works this election.
Oh, at all, brother. At all.
And what I'm saying with that is we knew going into this that the Republican candidate had basically talked about all the flaws with mail-in voting and told his people basically just show up on election day. And then you got the Democratic guy who's like, mail it in, mail it in, mail it in.
So be safe.
What I didn't know is that in some states, you're not even allowed to count the mail-in ballots until the day of. Or after.
I think it's so stupid.
I did not know that. And then the more I researched it, the more I found that the Democrats, seeing that this was going to be a big year, had actually in certain states gone and pitched, hey, can we start counting these early ballots early? And were shot down by Republicans. Now, when I found that out, that made me so much more angry because if you remember, on election night, it was around midnight or 1 o'clock when Trump said, you know what? I'm ahead. Game over. I win. Let's stop counting. So I just wanted to get kind of Ken. I had friends not following on election night. Like baby's mama went to bed. She didn't even look at anything. Were you guys invested or were you the smart people that go, I'm not getting into this tonight?
I wasn't invested. I wasn't invested. Once I found out about the whole mail-in thing, because I'm the same as you, I thought they counted them. And then when the election thing happened, they're like, bam, 3 million votes. We had them sitting up. Like, I didn't know they counted. I did not know that,
Ken,
bro.
that's where I was at. That's why I was so nervous. I thought all those mail-in ballots had already been counted. So when I saw everything turning red, I started freaking out.
I thought I wasn't going to be invested because I thought I was going to be smart and be like, it's not till morning, until I found this like interactive map that kept showing you like
270 to win.
Yeah. And I was like, exactly. And then I just kept being like now I became an electoral vote expert. I'm like telling people, I'm like, bro, listen, New Hampshire, they have two, so, but I understand and I agree with why they don't count the early ballots first. So election day, they want that to be the day you know what's up. They don't want you to find out there's 270,000 votes already for Donald Trump and this and that. I wish they had counted them somehow and then told us. That would have been nice. Like I understand them not telling the people the votes. But damn, if you got them, at least be like, hey, election day, half of you guys start counting these mail-in ballots. The rest of you guys start working on these live ones. Because them counting afterwards, that was news to me. Like the same thing to you. I knew they didn't count them beforehand, but I thought the day of election during the same time they're counting live like walk-in voters.
I thought the same thing too.
So
bro.
I'm like, damn, man, this is done.
I wish, especially this year with as many mail-in ballots, I wish they would have come forward and said, look, the way things are going, we're going to have election day and we're going to count those votes. And then it might take us 4 or 5 days to count all the rest. And we're not turning anything slightly red, anything slightly blue. When we have a final total number, we will put that up. Because all it's done is get people going like, oh man, how come when I went to sleep last night, Michigan was red and now it's blue? That doesn't make sense. How did he get 100,000 votes? Or how did he get more mail-in votes? Really, we didn't get. It's like, dude, once again, one guy ran on a campaign of voter mail-in fraud and the other guy ran on a campaign of send it in, send it in, send it in.
People kept saying that like, hey man, your candidate told you to go to the polls. So you went to the polls. Our candidate like, hey man, mail it in.
Bro.
But what made me mad about the mail-in? Text that vote. What made me mad about the mail-in is they will count mail-in votes 2 or 3 days after the election because, once it gets there at a certain time, it's postmarked, whatever. When you get your ballot, you know who you're voting for. Fill it out and send it in. Why are you waiting to the very last day at 5 o'clock?
I think mail-in votes should have to be turned in like 5 days before the election.
Bro, for real.
So that they're there by election day.
So it's there by election day.
And my other one too was about the election. People who waited for the last day to go register to vote, and then the computers went down. I'm like, you shouldn't. I said they shouldn't even be allowed to register. You done had 4 years to register to vote, or if you
think-
just
Because I went
this
to
election
early
just
vote.
irked me, man. It irked me, bro.
Yeah, I went to early vote like a dummy, thinking I could early vote Monday, but early voting ended the Friday before,
Right.
which is cool. I get that. I just didn't grasp that and pay attention. I was just like, I'll go Monday before the election. And I think the same kind of thing needs to be in for mail-in voting, though. Friday before the election is the last day you can turn in your mail-in or anything like that. Because I do think it's a pain being like, oh, if it's post-dated election day, it's cool. No, man. It's got to be there. It's not taxes. Taxes, you wait to the last minute, baby.
Right. I will say this. I find it funny, too, that people are like on social media. They're like, well, explain to me this then. Explain to me this. How come all the Trump rallies were packed out, but Biden couldn't even get 200 people? I'm like, once again, one candidate was saying that COVID's not an issue. Come on out. Don't wear a mask if you don't feel comfortable. The other one was like, I'm still on the campaign trail, but if you don't feel safe or comfortable, please don't come out to these rallies.
One candidate never caught COVID-19, and another candidate, his chief of staff, his head speaker, all caught COVID-19. So what's the correlation? One party was kind of like, no, wear a mask and stay inside. And another party was like, I don't want to do that. And now we've seen.
I do love how Trump prematurely at like around 1:00 Wednesday morning claimed victory, and in the same breath said he already had his lawyers looking into fraud. Yeah. So it's like, well, and that was before Biden was even close to ahead. Yeah. It's like, well, which one is it? This was a fair election and you won, and that's why you're the victor. Or you're saying the whole thing is rigged, because it seems weird to be calling it rigged when you just claimed you were the victor, But then this is the funniest part of this whole week for me. Mr. Giuliani. All right. Yeah. You guys hear about what happened with this?
Yeah. 4 seasons.
He gets his team of lawyers together and they call for a press conference. Trump tweets, watch today, huge press conference with the lawyers, 4 seasons, Philadelphia. Now, apparently someone on the team just went through the phone book and picked the four seasons that showed up, because instead of the Four Seasons Hotel, which is like a luxury hotel, it was Four Seasons Landscaping, which was in the outskirts of the city in an industrial park centered on either side of it with, I believe it was a porn shop
and a crematorium.
And a crematorium.
Yeah.
But rather than admit they were wrong, Trump went ahead and fixed his tweet, got rid of the hotel and put in landscaping. And they brought out, like, guys, we've done some crappy comedy shows. They had the crappy comedy show PAs there. Like, Four Seasons front desk landscaping girl was like, so Giuliani called. Apparently they want to do a press conference and they wanted to make sure we have a PA. And this guy was like, yeah, my kid has that Fisher Price karaoke machine. Let's cart that out there. They put up a whole bunch. They pasted Trump signs to a roller door. So if you like zoom in and get the camera shot, you're like, okay, we're somewhere. If you zoom out, it looks like the back alley of that Italian restaurant in New York, And they just pressed on with it. And I just kind of felt like that was a whole saying for that whole 4 years of theirs. Like, do you feel like maybe some mistakes have been made? And when you make a mistake, why don't you just own up to it? Yeah. Trump is the only person I know who has never made. I made 3 mistakes today. I made 5 mistakes in the past 10 minutes. This is a guy who can't even admit to this day that Covefe was a spelling mishap for Congress. He had to make a big... We all make... Dude, typos, big thumbs, I'm with you. All you had to say was like, yeah, dude, I had a typo. But instead, he's like, the people who matter know what Covefe mean. I'm like,
Mike, real quick, man. Only because, I worked in the White House for 5 years.
Yeah.
When you first get there, I was a tech guy, but I didn't have my security clearance yet. Mm-hmm. So I had to work press office and AV. This setup is actually set up by the White House, because I'm looking at the picture now. These are the exact same speakers. The sound system the guy got, because he has on a Walker pen. I'm looking at it. That sound system, I know how to work it. I've ran these cables, and those 2 speakers are exactly the speakers they put up. The only thing that is different is the presidential podium.
So what you're saying is these guys showed up at this location and said, "Yep, this is it. Unload the gear."
This is it. Like, to the point where if you, I'm looking at the picture. They used to make us tape everything down. Like you couldn't have any cord
cables. And stuff.
there's no what they call it, Miguel? 100-mile-per-hour tape.
100 mile. Yeah.
If you look at this picture, bro, it's just cords everywhere. They don't even care. They don't even care, bro. That's how happy people are to get this man out of office. That the actual people who work for White House communication, they just do
they left the stuff. Four Seasons called him up. Hey, y'all left. Nah, man, that's yours, homie.
Man, that's yours to keep. That's yours to keep, bro.
I'm gonna hook you up with my boy Ken Miller. Y'all can do some open mics out there.
And you know what's really amazing right now? President Biden has got the most votes of any presidential candidate in the history of elections. All right. He was at like 74 million and change last I checked. He was 4 million ahead of President Trump. And you know what's so sad? That you can have 4 million more votes. And even if you want to say some of these are voter fraud, number one, when you start bringing up like, death certificates and how's a dead person, that's on both sides. Mistakes don't get just made for one side. They're happening on both sides. But you know what? Let's go ahead, and they said there were 53 ballots that were in question in Pennsylvania. You know what? You can have those 53, and I'll give you another million. I'll give you another million votes. Saying that, yes, there was some secret cabal that got together and figured out how to do this, okay?
And there's always crooks. There's always crooks on all sides of elections working for parties and stuff. But at the end of the day, there's the FBI, the NSA, no one has ever said there is widespread super corruption voter fraud.
There's Republican and Democratic representatives in the counting room when they're doing ballots. The best video I saw so far was a bunch of Trump supporters. And can we just do that for a second? Can we just say how weird it was that you have Trump supporters in Pennsylvania chanting, "Stop the vote, stop the count, stop the count, stop the count," and then you have them in Arizona going, "Every vote counts, every vote counts." It's like, so where you're ahead, we need to shut it down. But where you're behind, we need to keep going. But the video I saw was a guy talking to journalists, and he's like, "Yeah, you see, it's right over there. See that SUV? They brought 5 cases into that SUV, 5 cases of ballots. Where are those ballots going? Nobody's talking about." So the reporter was like, "Well, let's go find out." And he walks around and he goes to the guy standing by the SUV. He's like, "Hey, you got 5 cases in there of votes?" He's like, "No." He's like, "You mind we take a look?" He's like, "Yeah." He opens it up. It's another news station. They open up all the cases. It's cameras and wires and transmitters and transponders.
Hey, man.
But did the guy back down from his accusation?
Nope. Probably not.
No. Double down. Not. Well, maybe this wasn't the van I was thinking of,
my thing is this, man. When Hillary Clinton lost the election, do I believe Russia put false information? Yes, but I don't think that had anything to do with Donald Trump being elected president. I think at that point in time, a bunch of people in America wanted to try Donald Trump as president. That's the same thing I'm saying with Joe Biden to these people. I don't think it's mass voter fraud. It's at this point in time in America, there are a lot of Americans who want Joe Biden to be president. Donald Trump, in my opinion, won his presidency fair and square. I hated his presidency, but I never doubted that he won it fair and square because I saw the support for him,
I'm with you on that. I never doubted that he got elected in. I didn't agree with it. I don't like him, but I was like, hey, that's who we voted for.
Yeah.
So do you see him conceding at any point that he lost this?
I see him making a kind of concession speech that doesn't say I conceded. That makes it sound like there was cheating, but whatever. Yeah,
and so his followers are instead of just being a man and saying, "Hey guys, I lost the election fair and square. Let's move on as a country." Bam, which would be the perfect thing for him to just do, and then just go ahead and walk on out the door. But he's not going to do that. He's going to like you said, his speech is going to be some BS. His people are going to run around crazy saying that the election was stolen, and that's pretty much how it goes.
I'm saying Melania's gone 3 months out.
Yeah,
her and Barron are out.
Well, hopefully he come to Potawatomi and see me, yo.
Now I'll take that booking at Mar-a-Lago, though.
Well, guys, we got to wrap it up for today. Thanks for listening to Real Laughs. Happy anniversary to James and Michelle. On behalf of Miguel Colon Jr., Ken Miller, and myself, and the rest of the shows here at 104.1, of course, Monsters in the Morning, the Jim Colbert Show, News Junkie, and Tom and Dan, we wish you nothing but the best, and we'll speak with you soon. This Friday night, November 13th, I'll be at the Leesburg Center for the Arts in Leesburg, Florida, performing alongside Kermit Gonzalez and Kevin White. Should be a great show. You can go ahead and get your tickets at orlandocomedy.com. Show starts at 8, doors open at 7. Once again, that's this Friday, November 13th. Come on by. Thanks a lot. Have a great night.